Welcome, welcome, folks. It is Wednesday, October the 29th, 2025. You know, we're about a month out from the end of the 2025 Atlantic hurricane season, and yet here we find us being very busy. Of course, Melissa's still out there, and that's basically going to be the focus tonight on HHL here on 13 News Now Plus. Hurricane Melissa is now impacting the Bahamas. Now, next up, as it accelerates to the north and east, will be impacts, fringe impacts to Bermuda. We are not expecting a landfall there. And the big question, is this it for the season? Are we going to wrap things up after Melissa fades away into the North Atlantic and head on into the winter season, quieting down quickly? Well, again, as I mentioned, we still have another month of hurricane season. It's not outside of the realm of possibility. We see some development in November. It's happened in several seasons in the past, but there is nothing really on the immediate horizon. You know, yesterday we did get out the Climate Prediction Center's 2- and 3-week outlook. We'll touch on that here in just a little while as well. But first, let's get a look at our season overall. So far, 2025, 13 named storms, 5 hurricanes, and this is the big one. 4 majors, including 3 Category 5s. Most recently, of course, has been Melissa, which now is much weaker than it was at its peak. 185-mile-per-hour winds, 892 millibar central pressure. It was an absolute beast as it hit Jamaica just about 36 hours ago, had a secondary landfall in Cuba just a little while ago, and now it is impacting the Bahamas. And I'm showing you a 12-hour loop of infrared satellite imagery. This is basically the most useful filter on satellite imagery. It tells us the temperature of the cloud tops. Why that's important with a system, or a tropical system, a hurricane that goes through ramp ups and ramp downs of intensification is because we can kind of see a precursor to the ramp ups in intensification based on cooling of the cloud tops, which we are seeing once again. You see the shades of white and pink showing up here in the last couple hours of the imagery. Yeah, it looks like we're seeing another round of intensification of Melissa right over the Bahamas right now, bringing widespread impacts of gusty winds, very, very heavy rainfall. The only good thing here is it's beginning to accelerate a little bit faster to the north-northeast. Right now, moving at 16 miles per hour. You remember there was a prolonged period of time just ahead of landfall of Jamaica that it was barely moving at all. It is starting to get picked up from a trough that's impacting the eastern seaboard right now, and will begin to accelerate it off to the north and east, and eventually pulling away from the Bahamas tonight and heading towards Bermuda, although in the process getting even faster, moving away. So here's the most recent forecast. We've got the 8 o'clock advisory with the 5 o'clock storm track, again sitting firmly at a Category 1 hurricane. Again, remember, it was a Cat 5 not too long ago. Sustained winds at 90 miles an hour, about half of what it was. Sustained winds at its peak. 115-mile-per-hour gusts, again, moving north-northeast at 16. Pressure 970 now, still rather deep, and there is some intensification expected. Back up to a Category 2 now by tomorrow afternoon. So you see that it's probably going to jump a little bit higher than that sooner, as we're seeing the flare-up of an intensification in terms of the cooling cloud tops. But notice how much ground this is covering in just a short while. By less than 24 hours from now, we are way out here, just to the south and west of Bermuda. There's Bermuda right there. And notice by Friday morning, overnight Thursday into Friday morning, Melissa is racing to the west and northwest of Bermuda. But I'll show you the wind radii. They will be impacted by at least tropical storm force winds. Again, all dependent on it does shift a little farther to the east and southeast. It could get a little bit closer. And then as it rips off into the North Atlantic, eventually fades away, may impact Atlantic Canada here as an extra tropical storm with still packing wind gusts, probably close to hurricane force by the time we get on towards this upcoming weekend, and then again fades away. Forecast modeling here, there's just no longer any spread. There's a pretty sure bet that it moves off to the north and east, picking up speed, pretty much all in line with that very narrow cone that we're seeing now. Do you remember about 10 days ago when they first issued the cone? It was not really a cone, it was more a circle, because the uncertainty was so great with such weak steering. Now there is much stronger steering, lifting it off to the north and east. So models are really in line. And you can really see it here with the American and the European operational models. The American GFS in yellow, Euros in red, pretty much right on top of each other here at initialization and tracking along pretty much the same route here. Stopping it on Friday, Halloween. We've got the setup here off to the west and northwest. It does put Bermuda on the dirty side of the storm, meaning it will be getting whipped by some strong winds, likely some high rough surf for sure, and likely some of the heavier rain as well. Clean side is usually on the far western side of the storm, but it'll be east of the center here in terms of Bermuda's placement with the storm track. And you can see this, wondering what is that? That's the interaction with that trough of low pressure, the upper low that's building on into New England, that'll actually act to speed it up to the north and east as it heads into Atlantic Canada. So here's the wind radii, wind field forecast. Right now impacting a large portion, Turks and Caicos all the way up into the Bahamas. We've got tropical storm force winds in the yellow here, that's 39-mile-per-hour winds or greater. And then hurricane force winds, still pretty large area impacted by that. Notice as we gain latitude, that radii does get larger. And it does impact Bermuda here. By Thursday overnight and early Friday, we're seeing at least tropical storm force winds, hurricane force winds, not all that far away to the north and west, and then it shoots off to the north and east, and at least land areas not directly impacted in the shorter term after hitting Bermuda. So there are tropical alerts up right now. Hurricane warnings remain in place for the Bahamas. Turks and Caicos now seeing tropical storm warnings there, being a little bit farther to the south and east of the storm center. And Bermuda has now been added to the list of tropical alerts. Hurricane warnings are now up for there. Again, about 24 hours from now, they'll begin to see impacts from Melissa heading that way. Wind gusts, again, as the storm is pulling away from the Bahamas, still seeing 50, 60. I mean, this is a little bit over the top, I think. Over 100-mile-per-hour winds at Clarencetown. A possibility of some gusts there. And then as it pulls away, look at Cockburntown, 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts. And then it lifts to the north, and we begin to see it start to head towards Bermuda. We'll watch wind gusts here start to pick up. And as we get on towards Friday in the middle of the night, early Friday morning, late Thursday night, we're looking at close to hurricane-force wind gusts in the island of Bermuda, the strongest of the wind field, though likely staying off to the north and west there, and still over 50-mile-per-hour winds by sunup on Friday. So what's next, if there is going to be a next? Well, the long-range outlook takes us through the first full week of November, almost through the middle of November, and does still highlight an area for potential tropical mischief. This is a low odd here, and it's an area that we focused on pretty much the last several outlooks this has been put out. It is from a CAG event, Central American Gyre. Basically, it's a large spinning area of low pressure that spindles of energy sometimes can break off of that, and when they move into a favorable environment, can develop on their own into a tropical system. And the long range is pointing to the Western Caribbean as being a potential area to watch for that. It's not uncommon for this point in the season. This tends to be kind of more of an active area later on in the season. And again, even heading towards the middle of November, a week out from Thanksgiving, we're still looking at this area of the Western, maybe even Central Caribbean, for the low odd chance of some tropical development there. So something to keep an eye on here. Doesn't look to be dead quiet over the next couple weeks. And the next name in line would be Nestor, our 14th named storm of the season. If we were to hit that 14th named storm, that would put us at an average season. 14 named storms is considered average. So here's our scorecard up against the Eastern Pacific, which, by the way, East Pac is dead quiet right now. 13 named storms in the Atlantic, 5 hurricanes, 4 major. And then the East Pac, 17, 9, and 3. All right, folks, that's the latest out in the tropics. We'll be right back after a quick break. Welcome back to Hurricane Hub Live. Here's a look at some aerial video of the damage from Hurricane Melissa in St. Elizabeth Parish, Jamaica. 4 bodies were recovered in this area and another 3 died on the island during storm preps. More than 20 people died in Haiti after a river flooded from Melissa bursting its banks, according to the local mayor there. And 1 person died in the Dominican Republic. In Jamaica, a Virginia Beach couple got stuck on the island as Hurricane Melissa hit. They've kept in touch with 13 News Now since before the storm blew through. Sherry Watts-Ankeny and her husband flew to Montego Bay on Thursday, and what they thought was going to be a trip of celebration has turned into a vacation of destruction. Madison Schlegel has more.
This is video Sherry Watts-Ankeny shared with 13 News Now just moments before Hurricane Melissa blew through.
I guess need to make the best of it.
They're in Montego Bay on the northwest side of Jamaica. It's the side of the island where our meteorologists say Melissa didn't hit directly, but when the couple landed for their 10th anniversary vacation, they were shocked they couldn't get back home.
When we came down, it wasn't this. We didn't know this. And then once we got down here, it was too late to get out.
On Sunday, Watts-Ankeny said the staff at the resort they're staying at, the Excellence Oyster Bay, has been monitoring conditions. Now they're assessing damage after Hurricane Melissa passed through yesterday.
We've just been watching, and it just has just gotten stronger and stronger. And then it's gotten more serious and serious.
Watts-Ankeny sends us these pictures of glass doors being boarded up at the resort. They say that even though those doors were boarded up, they were no match for Melissa's more than 180-mile-per-hour winds. In an update this morning, Watts-Ankeny said the glass doors are gone and the hot tubs on the balconies dislodged and caused damage. Watts-Ankeny says the resort has been moving people further inland since the weekend, and now guests are staying in a shelter with around 100 other people. As of this afternoon, guests have been able to leave the storm shelter, but they're confined to the terrace of the resort. The Excellence Oyster Bay posted to Facebook today saying, "We are deeply grateful to share that all of our guests and staff are safe and unharmed after Hurricane Melissa yesterday."
Now, the cleanup and recovery are just beginning in the Caribbean following Hurricane Melissa, one of the strongest Atlantic hurricanes on record. Melissa devastated Jamaica as a Category 5 storm. The deadly storm left many stranded and without power, with the entire country of Jamaica declaring a disaster area by the Prime Minister. Michael Yoshida reports.
Jamaica devastated by Hurricane Melissa.
Hospitals have been affected, schools have been affected, police stations, fire stations.
The massive storm causing extensive damage to the southwestern part of the island.
In our breadbasket, where our economy depends heavily on agriculture, that parish is devastated. The capital of St. Elizabeth, Black River, has been totally destroyed.
More than 75% of Jamaica public service customers across the country were without power Tuesday, with thousands of people filling emergency shelters. Around 25,000 tourists also still stranded with major airports closed.
I was just in pure survival mode. Make sure my kids are, and my wife and my parents and my aunt just have step 1, step 2, step 3 of if this happens, we're doing this. If this happens, we're doing this. It didn't come to that. Other places aren't so fortunate.
Cuba also suffering, quote, significant damage according to the country's president, with the government saying overflowing rivers cut off more than 140,000 people from the rest of the island. And in Haiti, 25 people killed when a flooded river burst its banks, a local mayor said. Now other countries, including the Bahamas, bracing for impacts as Melissa continues to move through the Atlantic. Wednesday, the United Kingdom deploying more than $3 million in emergency humanitarian funding to aid the recovery of Caribbean islands battered by the storm. The United States also committing recovery and rescue teams to the area. In Washington, Michael Yoshida.
Well, after tearing across Jamaica, leaving thousands of people without power, Hurricane Melissa barreled over the Caribbean toward Cuba. Melissa made landfall in Cuba early today as an extremely dangerous Category 3 hurricane. Melissa is being called the storm of the century, with schools, homes, and hospitals all affected. More than 735,000 people have been evacuated in Cuba, where residents and officials spent days preparing for the hurricane's impacts. All right, folks, let's get to tropical trivia to wrap things up tonight on HHL. The question is, only 4 Category 5 hurricanes have struck the United States. Name the most recent. Was it Michael, Wilma, Dorian, or Matthew? The answer tomorrow night on Hurricane Hub Live. Remember, we are here every night at 8 p.m. for the latest on the tropics. We'll see you back here on Thursday.